So today I want to go over the upcoming Packers free agents. There are 11 unrestricted free agents total for the Packers. And so I'm going to go through each guy, give my prediction, who is going to stay and who is going to go. And there's not any, really big time free agents for the Packers this year. There are a few guys who are starters who I think the Packers probably will bring back, but there's not really any big names where you say to yourself, like they 100% have to stay here for the Packers to be competitive. But I still think there are some key guys here. So starting off, we'll start with Josh Myers, Packers 2021 second-round draft pick. He hasn't been great. If we look at this past year, he's allowed the third most pressures among centers at 31, only 1 sack allowed. And I think for Josh Myers, the fact that he has been with Jordan Love the past 2 years, with Jordan Love being a starter, and looking at this Brian Gutekunst quote regarding this makes me think he's probably going to be back. But here's what Gutekunst said at his end-of-year press conference. I thought he had his best year. He dealt with some things during this year that were tough, and I thought he fought through it like a champion. He's certainly an asset to our football team. I know Jordan trusts him very much as his center. He's a UFA, unrestricted free agent, so we'll see where all that goes, but I can't say enough good things about Josh Myers. Not only as a player, but as a leader, he really does embody a Green Bay Packer and kind of what we're looking for. So that quote makes it sound like the Packers are 100% going to bring back Josh Myers. And even though I don't think Josh Myers is a top-tier type center, when you look at what the Packers have done on their offensive line the past couple of years, they've consistently been one of the better units. I think this year, Jordan Love is so good at escaping pressures, escaping sacks, that he makes them look better sometimes than maybe they are at times. And I do think there are different things the Packers could do to bolster this unit. But the fact that Myers has been with Jordan Love and the fact that Gutekunst seems to really like Josh Myers with that quote there, I do think that Josh Myers is going to be back in 2025. Then next, looking at Isaiah McDuffie, 2021 Packers 6th-round pick. He did start in 17 games this season, 125 snaps on special teams. And looking at the Packers linebacker position, they added a couple different guys in the past draft with Edgerrin Cooper playing at an elite level in his rookie year. No doubt he is going to be one of the Packers' best defensive players for a while, I think. And looking at the linebackers, the fact that Eric Wilson is also going to be a free agent, so I'll just bring him up right now as well. Eric Wilson started 12 games at linebacker. He did have the Packers' most special team snaps. And when Quay Walker was out, he was the guy with the green dot, getting the play calls in from Jeff Hafley. And so looking at the fact the Packers, I think they're going to, Quay Walker will be back. Edgerrin Cooper will be back. And then when you look at Eric Wilson and Isaiah McDuffie, I just don't see them bringing both of them back, partly because, Tyron Hopper, Packers 3rd-round pick this past year, he barely played at all, but I would assume they want to see him get some more snaps in 2025. And I think that letting McDuffie go, you could allow Hopper to potentially start getting more snaps. But considering Eric Wilson, I thought he played pretty well. So did McDuffie. He didn't play great necessarily, but he was somewhat reliable. I think he's pretty solid in run defense. But Eric Wilson, the fact that he's also probably the most impactful special teams player, I think that's why the Packers will keep Eric Wilson, and he played pretty well when Quay Walker was out. So I'm saying they keep Eric Wilson, they move on from Isaiah McDuffie, and then moving on to Eric Stokes, Packers 2021 1st-round pick. There were a lot of questions for Stokes heading into 2024, the 2024 season, just because he had dealt with so many injuries the previous 2 years, and we saw how good he was in his first year as a Green Bay Packer. And unfortunately, he just has never gotten back to how he played in his rookie season. I think he had some good moments this year, no doubt. But considering in Week 18, the Packers only played him in 5 snaps. In the playoff game against the Eagles, the Packers only played him in 1 snap. And so I feel like that may give us an indication of what the Packers are thinking about Eric Stokes. In his first year as a rookie, he had 9 pass breakups. He hasn't had a pass breakup since his rookie year. He didn't play a lot of snaps the previous 2 years, but that's still, I think, somewhat, important information to look at. And so I just don't see the Packers bringing him back. They seem pretty sold on the combo of Carrington Valentine, Keyshawn Nixon, and Javon Bullard. And I think that going into the draft, the Packers could definitely draft a cornerback somewhat early and maybe even try to find a corner in free agency potentially. And so I just don't see them bringing Eric Stokes back. Then TJ Slayton, defensive lineman. I think that TJ Slayton, he's really solid when it comes to run defense. And if you look at ESPN's run stop win rate, he was actually number one in run stop win rate per ESPN among defensive tackles. And so the Packers' pass rush was inconsistent in 2024, but their run defense was one of the best, one of the better units in the NFL, top 10 unit. A lot of that has to do with TJ Slayton. So I think he will be back in Green Bay in 2025. I think that you don't want to lose someone who plays so well against the run. So I think they will bring back TJ Slayton. And then Brandon McManus, who was brought in after the Packers weren't able to figure out the kicker position with Anders Carlson, and they move on from him, moved to Narvison for a little while. Then they signed McManus, and he really played great all year long. He missed the field goal in the playoffs, unfortunately, but all in all, in the regular season and in the playoffs, he goes 21 of 23, 91.3%. Now that's incredible, especially considering when you compare it to what Anders Carlson did last year, which was not great in his rookie season. And among kickers who at least had 10 attempts in 2024, McManus had the 8th best field goal percentage. He only missed one during the regular season, and he went 31 of 31 on extra points. So I see him 100% coming back. Brian Gutekunst had some positive comments about McManus, and I think he is around 34 years old, so who knows how much longer he'll play, but I think that he is 100% going to be signed back to the Packers. Then we have a few more here. Corey Ballantyne only played 75 snaps on defense this year, 6th most special team snaps, so he was somewhat reliable there. I don't think they're going to keep Corey Ballantyne, but on the other hand, it's possible. I don't really have a strong opinion on this one. I think that either way, if you bring him back, it'll be a really cheap deal, so it's not like you're having to pay him a lot of money. And considering he did play a lot of special team snaps, maybe you want to keep him as some corner depth. He did play a lot of corner, like a year or two ago when there were some injuries. And so I'm going to say they don't keep him, but I wouldn't be surprised if they kept him on a cheap deal because he can be a solid special teamer. So that's sort of my thought there. Then Andre Dillard, he was brought in this past year, 2019 Eagles first-round pick. He only played in 13 snaps on the Packers offensive line. And the Packers O-line just didn't really have many injuries this year. And so he was able to, he didn't really have to be used. So it's a tough one here. Maybe he gets kept for depth and he was a first-round pick, but the fact that he only played 13 snaps, I'm pretty unsure about this one. It would probably also be a pretty cheap deal. I'm going to say they don't keep him. Then we have Robert Rochelle, played one defensive snap this year. He had been signed by the Packers back in 2023. He was 18th in special team snaps, so not a huge special teamer. 121 total snaps. I'm going to say the Packers don't keep him as well. And I do feel like the Packers are going to use a draft pick on some corners. And so I think they're going to move on from Rochelle. Then we have A.J. Dillon, who got a stinger on his neck in August, which put him on the season-ending IR, which is really unfortunate for him. The Packers have brought him back, on like a one-year deal basically for 2024. And I think you just look at the Packers running back room. Josh Jacobs is going to be back, one of the better running backs in the league. Great signing last year. And then you look at Chris Brooks and Emmanuel Wilson, the way that both of those guys played, where the Packers running back room didn't really skip a beat when Josh Jacobs had to take some, rest on the sideline during the games. And so considering those guys played well, and then Marshawn Lloyd, Packers third-round pick from last year, will probably be back healthy next year. He dealt with a lot of injuries in his rookie year. He's an insanely talented player, and the Packers, I think, using a third-round pick on him will want to use him. So I just don't think there's room here for A.J. Dillon to come back, and I would assume maybe he signs elsewhere if he does, keep playing. Then to finish it off here, we have Tyler Davis, tight end, who unfortunately the past 2 years dealt with season-ending injuries, an ACL injury tear in 2023, and then suffered a shoulder injury right when he came back before 2024. So that's tough for someone to miss 2 straight years. And so I thought he was a solid player, played some special teams, before he had gotten injured a couple of years ago. So just considering, though, he missed the past 2 years, he could be back if the Packers want some more tight end depth, but I'm going to predict here he's not back in Green Bay in 2025. If you want more Packers content, feel free to subscribe. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section, as always. And if you want more NFL content, I have a second channel. I've been posting a lot more there. I broke down the Bills game from yesterday, Bills Chiefs, so feel free to check that out. I'll leave a link here if you want to watch that video. That's it for today, and I'll see you guys next time.